Hello, everyone. Welcome to Catherine's ESL Classroom. In today's lesson, we are going to focus on the second conditional. Remember my previous video on the zero conditional? Well, let's learn some more about the second conditional, how we form it, and your challenge quiz. So today's lesson is the second conditional, the importance of the second conditional, how to form or create the second conditional, some examples of the second conditional, and your beautiful challenge quiz because you just love them so much. Our review: second conditional sentences. Are you reading along with me? Well, if not, join me. Come on. Second conditional sentences. What is the second conditional? Second conditional sentences are used to talk about future things, which are unlikely or impossible. Uh-oh, that's the second conditional. Do you remember what the zero conditional was? Remember, if it's a fact or true, then it's like a scientist, right? So the second conditional example: if I won the lottery, I would buy a big house. If I won the lottery, I would. Remember, would is your future. I would buy a big house. So it's unlikely or impossible because it's unlikely you would win the lotto, but some people do. Now, how to form second conditional sentences. Second conditional sentences are made up of an if clause and a main clause, just like the zero conditional. The if clause has a verb in the past simple tense. The main clause has would plus an infinitive verb. An example: if I won the lottery, I would buy a big house. So here is your if clause. This is your main clause. But in the second conditional, we have the past simple tense with the if clause, and the main clause is the would, because that's your future, and your infinitive verb. This is buy. Infinitive verb, buy. I would buy a big house. Now remember, this is unlikely because it's unlikely you would win the lotto, or it would be unlikely that you would buy a big house because you won the lotto. You starting to get it now? Okay, so if you looked at these two pictures, okay, we have money and we have a car. What do you think the second conditional sentence would be if we use the if clause in the past simple tense and then the would plus the infinitive verb, which is your future tense? What would it be? If I had $1 million, I would buy a sports car. Okay, remember, this is an unlikely. That's why it's a second conditional. It's unlikely. Okay, but if I had $1 million, I would buy a sports car. Would you? What would you buy if you had $1 million? Let me know. Tell me in your comments. So what are these two pictures? What do you think these are? What would be the second conditional sentence? Or what do you think it should be? based on these two pictures? Well, I have one for you. If I had a rocket, I would fly to the moon. So if you had a rocket, would you fly to the moon? What would you do? What would be your second conditional sentence? Here's another picture. Want to describe the picture for me? Maybe give me an example of a second conditional by describing this picture. Remember, you need your if clause in the past simple tense. Then you need your main clause, which is what? You have would, which is your future tense, and then your infinitive verb. If the weather wasn't so bad, I would go to the park. So what would you do if the weather wasn't so bad? Or if the weather was raining? Would we say that if the weather wasn't raining? I think we should say if the weather wasn't so bad, I would go to the park. Because if I say if the weather was raining, doesn't sound so good, does it? What do you think? Let me know in your comments, okay? This is a cute, what is this a picture of? Little silly, right? If I could travel back in time, I would have a pet dinosaur. What would you do if you could travel back in time? Would you have a pet dinosaur? Let me know. This is one of my favorite places. Do you know what it is? If I could travel anywhere, I would go to Bora Bora. Where would you go if you could travel anywhere? Remember, this is a second conditional, so it tends to be a little bit unlikely, but we can always dream, right? So think of your second conditional as that we dream about things. If I could, if I would, okay? Remember, you can also think about your modal verbs, could and would and should. Remember? Your turn. What would you do in the following situations? What would you do if you had $1 million? Our second conditional sentence would sound like this. If I had $1 million, I would. Well, if I had $1 million, I would go to Bora Bora for sure. Where would you go if you could go anywhere? So the second conditional would sound like this. If I could go anywhere, remember you need your past tense, your past simple tense. If I could go anywhere, I would go to, again, if I could go anywhere, I would go to Bora Bora again. So it sounds like I have Bora Bora in my mind. So you let me know what your second conditional sentence is. It's your turn, and this is your class. What would you do if you found a talking dog? Well, if I found a talking dog, I would speak to my dog all the time, and we would be even more incredible friends. What would you do if you found a talking dog? That could be quite interesting. Well, congratulations. Well done. What did you think of this second conditional class? What did you learn? You let me know in your comments, okay? Well, until next time, thank you and bye-bye.